Hey everyone, it's Blake. Welcome in to episode number 1 of our WWF 1992 save in TEW IX. This is our introduction episode, and no, your eyes are not deceiving you. We have done the WWF 1992 save on this channel before, as we did, I think it was 10 or 11 episodes back in TEW 2020. But this is one that I mentioned when TEW IX came out that I wanted to find a way to keep this one going just because, quite honestly, the ease of the save. Meaning that the WWF in 1992 was a bit easier to book than some of the other stuff I've done, whether it's been the WWE stuff we did in 2021 or the WWF Invasion one, where we're booking 2 big shows every week with 20-plus segments usually, or something like that. So I've always wanted to just keep, a pretty easy type save like this in the rotation for whenever I'm overwhelmed with the other saves, which obviously we haven't put a new video up on the channel in a couple weeks. That's more been focused around just kind of a busy period for my work, as it is every September. But still, I wanted to get this one back in the rotation. So I was trying to figure out a way, how do we do it? And I'm like, well, I don't really want to go back and book every single episode that I booked in TEW 20 and just have to do the exact same thing in TEW 9 to get to a new starting point to where we can keep the save going. So my thought was, why don't we just basically start from the period that we were at in TEW 2020 and just fast forward a little bit. And what I mean by that is, what we're going to do is we're going to start at WrestleMania, which is very unusual, I know, for any save that I've ever done. Our first show is going to be WrestleMania VIII. And so we had gotten to the point to where we had booked the first, I think, again, it was 8 or 9 shows we had booked. And so we had everything set to where we had been through the Royal Rumble. We had already set up multiple matches for WrestleMania VIII. And so all we're going to do is basically skip over 3 or 4 episodes of Superstars to fast forward to the biggest show of the year on the very first show. So that is kind of our thinking here. And if you want to, obviously, I think it would be very helpful if you want to go back and watch those first 10 episodes that we did in the WWF 1992 save in TEW 2020. Again, it's just a different game. Everything's pretty much the same. I'd still like angles to be a little bit easier to book, but it is what it is. However, you can get all the kind of, nuts and bolts of the storylines from going back and watching those. But I will catch you up, just like I've done in other instances where we've taken a break on a save or something like that. I'll give you a pretty easy to follow, catch up as to what we're kind of doing with the stories and everything like that. But I'll just quickly, before we get into that, and I am going to go ahead and give you the WrestleMania VIII card. We've got it right here in the pre-booking. But before we do that, I'll just give you a look at where we're at and everything else. So certainly, if you look at the size, this is, again, us booking against ourselves. It's 1992. WCW, I think, is still an intriguing company. Maybe at some point we'll do a save with them, but this is kind of my baby here, the WWF in this era. And I have been watching a lot of old classic WWF Coliseum home videos here. I've been on a kick with those lately because I think all those are about to leave the library or whatever, although I think they're putting them on the vault or on YouTube now. So, I've been trying to catch up on a lot of those, and I'm just watching this era, and I love the random Coliseum home video tapes where you just get a bunch of random matches, and it's just, so I was like, I want to jump back into this, and so here we are. But again, no real worry financially, no real worry in terms of the size. I mean, we can, I guess, look at the state of the game world and those kind of things, but there's not really a need to. I mean, again, we're the biggest company in the world, and there's just not a lot of, competition. WCW still at medium, so they're not really going to overtake us at any point, hopefully, unless our booking just gets absolutely wild. So yeah, that's where we are. We have a big roster. As you know, we've got 70 superstars on our current roster. Bret Hart has some morale issues. We're going to have to fix that. So does Hercules, my guy Herc. We're going to have to figure out why he's got some big morale issues as well. But we'll solve those things. We do have a lot of contract stuff we're going to have to sort through here early, although as I'm looking at this list here, I don't really see a ton of potential ones that are going to worry me a bit. We got to get Greg the Hammer Valentine back under contract. My guy Haku, Marty Jannetty, Tanaka from one half of the Orient Express, and so forth. General Adnan, we got to keep him. So yeah, we'll figure out the contract stuff, but not really a a huge thing. I don't really have to hide anything yet, which is nice in the start. But our backstage atmosphere, if you're curious about that, we're average. We've got some relationships that obviously are not too great. Hogan, openly hostile towards the Ultimate Warrior. Jake the Snake Roberts, openly hostile towards the Ultimate Warrior. Everyone, apparently, hostile towards the Ultimate Warrior. Marty Jannetty and Shawn Michaels, strong dislike there. Vince has a strong dislike of the Ultimate Warrior, which makes you wonder, why is he on the roster? But that's where we stand on that. We've got a lot of negative influences, that's for sure. So we'll have to sort some of that out as we move along. So, all right, let's look at, again, some of the other stuff here as we get it started. There's been no changes in terms of whenever we started last time around in 2020. The champions are all the same. The WWF Heavyweight Championship still vacant, and we'll get into that in a second when I show you the WrestleMania 8 card. The Intercontinental Champion still Bret Hart. In our say, Bret beat the Mountie for that title, or he beat the Mountie, at the Royal Rumble to keep that title, and then he's only had one other defense in our historical save. He beat the Repo Man at Saturday night's main event. So Bret has Intercontinental title defenses over Repo Man and Mountie. Keep that in mind. King of the Ring, we're not worried about. Royal Rumble. Our winner of our Royal Rumble in 1992 was Ric Flair. We kept it the same as it was in reality. And our tag team champions still the same, Hawk and Animal, the Legion of Doom. So, that is notable there. I've got to clean up the storylines. I will tell you that. These are all the ones in the start of the save. I need to clean some of these up to kind of match where we're at, although there's not a lot that's really changed that much since we started there. But again, we'll get into that here shortly. What else? I mean, our product, you guys know what it is. It's style name, Vince's Baby. Classic sports entertainment. You know what to expect on that. As I said, financially, we have no worries. We spent a little money to upgrade some production stuff and all that already to meet the needs. We are looks like not going to renew our deal with Fox, so we'll have to figure out some stuff on that. But let's see if there's anything else here quickly to look at. I did, by the way, on the events, Wrestling Challenge was one of the other B shows. We would have to book 2 B shows with Prime Time and Wrestling Challenge. I did what I did in the previous iteration of this save. I just canned Wrestling Challenge, kept Prime Time. So, yeah, we're just going to do Prime Time, which will be taped. That'll be our B show. And then, of course, we've got Superstars of Wrestling every single week that will be held or be shown on Fridays. So, yeah, WrestleMania coming up next, as we said. We'll get into that shortly. SummerSlam after that. We'll probably tie in a few more. We may add another Saturday night's main event in between because that's a pretty long road from WrestleMania to SummerSlam. So that's my guess is we'll throw that in there somewhere to have another Saturday night's main event, to have something to build towards before we get to SummerSlam. So, all right, let's see. Stables. We don't have any stables. That's why we don't really need to work about that. Although, I mean, Jimmy Hart's got a lot of clients. We could maybe come up with something there. But, all right, so now let's look at WrestleMania 8 and the card that I was building towards before we stopped actually with that save. So there you go. All right, here we go. So here's the lineup that we have. It will be, and some of these matches will be on the pre-show. There's one match that I don't have right now on this particular pre-booking, and it's because it's going to be kind of a surprise opponent. So we are setting it up to where the Superfly, Jimmy Snuka, is going to have his farewell match in the WWF here in April of 1992 at WrestleMania 8. It's the farewell to the Superfly. And so he's going to have a mystery opponent in his farewell match. You guys already know this is setting up to not go well for Mr. Snuka. So I couldn't put his opponent on there because I didn't want to sort of give it away. So, all right. So that's one of the matches we'll have. That will be on the main card. A couple of these matches will likely be on the pre-show that we'll use, and I'm not exactly sure yet which ones those are going to be, but there are a couple contenders here as you'll look at, and I'll run through those first. Of course, we've got the model Rick Martel taking on Greg the Hammer Valentine. So that's a one-on-one match. And remember, too, this is like WrestleMania 8, so we weren't just simply going through and lining up. Every match had to have this long backstory or anything like that, right? Some of these are just random matches that are thrown on the card. That would qualify with this one for Rick Martel versus Greg the Hammer Valentine. Another one that probably applies there is going to be the six-man tag, as it's going to be, I love this group right here, the Texas Tornado, Kerry Von Erich, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, and the Big Boss Man versus what may be the greatest three-man team ever assembled, including the NWO. Haku, the Barbarian, and the Warlord. Absolute hosses on that side here. So we've got a six-man tag. Texas Tornado, Duggan, Boss Man versus Haku, Barbarian, and the Warlord. This may be my favorite match on the card, and it may wind up on the pre-show. We'll find out. All right, we're going to have a match here, as it's going to be the New Foundation, consisting of Owen Hart and Jim the Anvil Neidhart, taking on the Beverly Brothers. The Beverly Brothers had a shot at Legion of Doom at the Rumble for the WWF Tag Team titles. However, they came up short. The New Foundation got a little momentum going. Owen Hart has had some one-on-one matches. He lost to Shawn Michaels in a one-on-one encounter, but the tag team itself has built some momentum. So two of these teams trying to get things going, perhaps getting a shot, possibly soon, at the tag team champions. Speaking of which, we are going to have the kind of match we've been building towards for a couple months. The Legion of Doom will defend the WWF Tag Team titles against the Natural Disasters, Earthquake and Typhoon. Now, it's worth noting, if you go back and watch our 1992 episodes in TEW 2020, Typhoon did eliminate the Earthquake from the Royal Rumble, and to really push every man for himself. So we've had that going on. We've also had a little bit of a back and forth between the Natural Disasters and Money Inc. with Ted DiBiase and IRS, because Jimmy Hart manages all of them. So we've had a lot of tension right now with the Natural Disasters, but they're going to get their shots at the Legion of Doom for the WWF Tag Team titles. All right, we've got the British Bulldog taking on the Mountie, who always gets his man. But can he get his animal? Because the Mountie has been on a mission. This is something else we set up in our previous part of the save. He is trying to clean up the WWF. And so, after losing to Bret Hart in that Intercontinental Championship match at the Royal Rumble, the Mountie has been cleaning up Coco Beware and Frankie. So he's been cleaning up Coco, Frankie. Now he's going to clean up British Bulldog and Matilda. So apparently the Mountie's coming after animals. That's what it sounds like here, based on perhaps what he's trying to do. Maybe he's trying to clean up, you know what. I mean, that may be it. So the Mountie's trying to have a very nice and sanitary ring, perhaps. But he's going to take on the British Bulldog, who's been pushing that 1992 is the year of the Bulldog. Will it be the case here as he goes one-on-one with the Mountie at WrestleMania VIII? Also one-on-one, a match that actually happened at WrestleMania VIII. There's another one we'll get to in a second that also happened on that card. It will be Shawn Michaels going one-on-one with El Matador, Tito Santana. So it is Michaels who's been on the come-up. We introduced the new Shawn Michaels as we were pushing him early in this save, and he's been on a hot streak here recently. Meanwhile, El Matador, not so much. I think he's coming off of actually the last episode we booked. I think he was destroyed by The Undertaker. So El Matador goes from The Undertaker to Shawn Michaels here, and they're going to go one-on-one here at WrestleMania VIII. All right, speaking of The Undertaker, the big one we've been building towards, The Undertaker versus Sid Justice. These two have beaten the hell out of each other for the past couple months in our save. It was, kind of all set up. You go back to the Royal Rumble, where it was Sid who eliminated The Undertaker. And then it was Jake Roberts who came up and eliminated Sid. They brawled, Sid and Taker did, and they've continued to try to hit their finishers on each other to no avail. Will someone do that here in this match? We'll find out. A huge one. The Undertaker, Sid Justice, one-on-one at the biggest show of the year. It's going to be great. All right. We kind of got, if the way this is set up, we've sort of got, I think, what I would call probably three sort of semi-main events here. And by the way, I forgot this match. Bret the Hitman Hart, before we get to the semi-main events, is going to take on Erwin R. Shyster, IRS. And this has really come based off of a lot of interactions between Bret and Ted DiBiase. I mentioned him a second ago. The $1 Million Man has been flaunting that one line he keeps saying time and time again, that money can buy anything and that everybody has a price. He's been saying this ever since we started this save. And so, the $1 Million Man, seemingly, we don't have any proof of this, he came out at number 30 in the Royal Rumble, and he said before the Rumble that he would buy the best number that money could buy. So there's one little, perhaps, tease, and he's continued to tell Bret Hart and everyone else that money can buy anything. Bret, meanwhile, wanted to go one-on-one with Ted DiBiase here at WrestleMania VIII and said he would put his Intercontinental Championship on the line, but DiBiase's an absolute coward and decided to tag in his tag partner, IRS, here. So it's going to be one-on-one Bret Hart versus IRS at WrestleMania for the Intercontinental Championship, and we'll see what maybe Ted DiBiase has in mind with his money, and could he spend it on something useful to perhaps get IRS the Intercontinental title. All right, I mentioned the 3 semi-main events. We've already talked about The Undertaker versus Sid Justice. The other one that qualifies, Jake the Snake Roberts versus Rowdy Roddy Piper. Now, this was easily our most intense rivalry we had going on in our previous iteration of the save, was Jake Roberts versus Randy Savage. And we were building off of the actual real-life stuff when they had their feud in late 91 and all that. Everyone remembers the snake bite on TV and all those other very incredible visuals. But the whole thing was that Jake was obviously going after Savage, but he was also going after Elizabeth. And so these two finally had a blow-off match one-on-one at Saturday night's main event. And it was Randy Savage getting the win, but afterwards, Jake tied Savage in the ropes, and that left Elizabeth all on her own. Jake went after Elizabeth, was taking Damian over there, but it was Roddy Piper, who has been on commentary for us on Superstars, who made the save, and these two brawling after each other and all of that. So we kind of set up the idea that Piper is not going to let Jake just continue to run roughshod around the WWF, going after everybody in sight, but specifically going after Elizabeth. And so we're going to get Piper versus Jake the Snake here because Randy Savage is occupied elsewhere, as it will be in our main events of WrestleMania VIII, as I mentioned, another match that actually did happen. It's going to be Ric Flair versus Randy Savage one-on-one for the vacant WWF Championship. Flair, I talked about, won the 1992 Royal Rumble, just as he did previously. Now, the way we set it up, we did not make the Rumble for the championship the way they did in reality. And look, it's probably in hindsight, if I knew there was going to be a big break in the save, I probably would have, because we haven't really had a chance to tell the story in between as to why we set it up that way. But we'll just fast forward and tell you that it will be for the championship here, as Savage is not only focused on, the championship, and some would probably even say Savage is not really focused on the championship at all. He's mostly focused on Ric Flair because of everything I just said about how it was Piper making the save for Jake, but then who was the person that came to console Elizabeth? It was Ric Flair. And so Savage is tied to the ropes. He's been bitten by the snake. The man's out of it, and he's looking over and he's seeing Ric Flair trying to console Elizabeth, and Elizabeth kind of shoves him away there, and that sets up a very angry Randy Savage. And so the whole setup was that on the last show we booked in our save, it was President Jack Tunney revealing that Ric Flair was not responsible for the attack on Hulk Hogan at the Royal Rumble. Ric Flair came out as the number 1 entrant in the Rumble. Hulk Hogan came out as number 2, but Hogan never made it to the match because he was attacked by a variety of heels. Haku, Barbarian, the Mountie, the Repo Man, the Warlord, all kinds of guys just attacked Hogan, never made it to the match, and Tunney has said Hogan is not cleared to compete, may not be cleared to compete anytime soon. But Flair was ridden. I mean, everybody thought it was Flair because they had set it up, the tease, that Flair was the person maybe to take out Hogan. It wasn't Flair, according to Tunney, and then the Randy Savage leaped in and just attacked Flair, and that set us in motion for our WrestleMania VIII main event. So I know there's a lot of backstory. You can get it by going back and watching the save. But yeah, there we go. That's where we're set up. Hogan, nowhere to be found on WrestleMania VIII because the man's not cleared to compete after the dastardly heels attacked him, took him out of the Rumble, and let's just call it what it is. We took Hogan out of the Rumble because the man would refuse to lose, and so I wasn't going to have him win. And so we had to take him out somehow. So Hogan, when's he coming back? When's he going to be cleared? All questions we have heading into WrestleMania VIII in April of 1992. So there you go, guys. There's your setup. Like I said, I would highly advise. It's a lot of fun. Just go back and watch the other episodes. I think it'll give you kind of the backstory you need to get into this one. Again, I just picked up where I left off, and we skipped over a few things, but we're pretty much where we were, and now we're just getting to the biggest show of the year. So our next episode will be WrestleMania VIII. It will be the biggest show of the year. Kind of an unusual start for one of these saves, but actually I think it's kind of a fun starting point given everything we've already put together with this. So we'll jump into that next. So be sure to subscribe, like, turn on your notifications, all that stuff so you know when new videos go up here at the channel. I always appreciate you watching. If you're wanting to know about the Invasion save and about the Rocky Mountain Wrestling local to global save, I did the exact same thing for this save for them, meaning that I've gotten my notebook out. I've written down all my notes from the stories and all the different shows we've already done for those. And so we are finally caught back up on everything. And so those episodes are coming. And I wanted to get this one out here first because this was kind of the easiest one to put together. So throwing this out here, new episodes of those two series coming as well. So yeah, I think we're finally got a little bit of a better workflow here in getting these videos out. So hope you guys enjoy them. Like I said, go back, watch all the other stuff on the channel. Pretty much everything is evergreen. You can go watch them, have some fun with the stories and all that stuff. So yeah, there you go. But appreciate you guys as always. We're back to the old school WWF. And so on the next episode of our WWF 1992 save, it will be WrestleMania VIII.